Properties of parallelograms. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral. Quadrilaterals have four sides, so a four-sided polygon in which both pairs of opposite sides are are parallel. Hence the name parallelogram. So we have two opposite sides that are parallel. There are four properties that we must have memorized. 1, the opposite sides are congruent. 2, opposite angles are congruent. 3, consecutive angles are supplementary. And 4, diagonals bisect each other. So we are going to use these properties to be able to solve number 1 together here. So first of all, I'm going to start with the sides. Opposite sides are congruent. So I have this side, AB, would be parallel to side DC, and they are both 15. Segment BC is parallel to segment AD. If this is 8, this is 8. Opposite sides are congruent, meaning they are the same. So the sides are pretty simple. If you know one side, you know the other side. So now let's find our angles here. So again, we know that opposite angles are congruent. So opposite of 68 degrees would be angle B over here, which is also 68 degrees. We also know that consecutive same side angles are supplementary. So we're using that 180 degrees again because this is angle D and C would be a linear pair, or supplementary, sorry, not a linear pair, because they're not paired together, so I can't technically use the word linear pair. So I'm just going to use supplementary because they total 180. And we get 112 degrees. So angle C is 112 degrees, which means angle A is 112 degrees. And that's how you find all the angles and sides of a parallelogram. In number 3, we will find our missing sides, but you'll notice that they've thrown in some diagonals. So I'll be using the property of diagonals bisect each other, and if you remember, bisect means that we cut those in half. Okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just label everything I know. If the top RS is 27, then the bottom UT is also 27. RU is 18, so ST is also 18. Bisect means half, so UV is 7, then VS is also 7. And they did not give me they did give me RT. They said the whole thing is 30. So I'm going to go ahead and divide that by 2 just because I like everything labeled. So once I get my diagram completely labeled, then I go to fill these out. UT, I have 27. ST is 18. VS is 7. And VT is 15. So go ahead and fill out your entire diagram, then go over and start filling in the blanks. Okay, let's look at number 5 now, where they've given us typically the same problem, just in a little bit different format. I'm going to go ahead and label all my diagram with everything I know. So XY is 15, WX is 22, put a little check so I know I have those labeled. ZX is this whole thing is 32. I'm going to go ahead and divide it by 2 now, so I know each of these little pieces here are 16. WT is 10, which I'm going to go ahead and label all my sides now, all my segments. So that means this one would be 10, this is 22, and this is 15. So all my segments are labeled. Now I'm going to go ahead and change my pen color here so we can look at the angles, because we can get a lot written on these little diagrams. W, Z, Y, this little guy right here is 62 degrees. Wait, W, Z, Y, oh, that's the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark there. That's the whole thing. WX, T, that's the small one. is 27 degrees. And ZWT, this guy right here, is 77 degrees. Okay, so if the whole thing here is 62, I'm going to take away my 27. Did I count wrong? 62. So that means this other missing side would be 35. Sorry. So, well, I'm going to change this. I'm going to put the whole thing is 62 degrees. This is 35. This is 27 by alternate interior angles. And if this is 77 degrees, this one is also 77 degrees. What else am I missing? Ooh, and then I also know that this angle and this big angle should equal 180 because they're supplementary. So I'm going to do 180 minus 62 minus 77. And we get 41 degrees is this missing angle there. So that one's also 41. Okay. Here we go. Let's start filling out all our gaps here. I think I have everything labeled that they've given me. Okay, ZW is 15. ZY is 22. TX is 16. WY would be 10 plus 10, 20. I might have to get my colors here. So I'm just going to highlight it, TZY, TZY, and you'll see in between those two rays here, it's 27 degrees. Don't be afraid to color code it if you need to. You get a little bit much once everything is labeled on here. So X, Y, Z, X to Y to Z, you can see is this obtuse angle. So that means I'll be combining my 41 degrees and my 77 degrees. And it's 118 degrees. Okay, XWT, X over to W, and then cuts over to T. Again, colored pencils will be helpful here. And you'll see inside of that pink angle that I just created is 41 degrees. And this is again why I want the entire diagram filled out first, and then we can go to label everything else. Just makes it a lot easier. X, Y, T. So X over to Y, and then cut to T. So it's going to have this corner right here is where we're looking at, which is 77 degrees. Looking at number 7, where they have given us expressions, we know opposite sides are congruent, so we would set up our equation where these two expressions are equal to each other, and we are just solving for x here. For 9, TV, this whole thing is 74. Again, I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. So I know this is 37 and this is 37. WV is also 4x plus 1. And we're solving for x. So now I know, should I be adding things or should I be making them equal to each other? Well, I know that 4x plus 1 is the same as 37 degrees. And then we'll just solve. Again, we're solving for x. Be careful. Sometimes they want us to actually find the measurement where you'll have to substitute x back in. Excuse me. But here they're just asking for x. So before you move on to the next problem, always check and make sure, did I answer the question correctly? Like what they're actually asking for. All right, here we go. So they told me that KLH, so K to L to H is this obtuse angle. is 134 degrees. And I noticed that they've given me these angles as well. I'm going to go ahead and use my alternate interior angles and just label those. I like everything labeled. It makes it a little bit easier for me. And then if you remember that consecutive angles are supplementary, now I can write an equation because I know all of this angle L, 134, plus angle K, which is 4x plus 9 plus 25 equals 180 degrees. You guys give these a try and we'll go over them in class.